this job is done.
The hardest part about this project was figuring out how to do it with the tools I had, but also for those that have less tools. So I provide you different options. I show you how on the fly I change some things up, so you really kind of benefit from watching the whole video, because you'll see that I started in one direction, then I pivoted and went to another direction. It also reinforces, if you have some basic skills, homeowners can do a lot of these repairs themselves and save yourself a lot of money. And maybe do it for a friend and save them a lot of money. If you're lucky enough to own a home, with it comes a whole bunch of opportunities to fix things. Because a home, eventually everything wears out, breaks, whatever it is. It's just a matter of time. This house is 20 years old, and guess what? Some of the stairs were wobbly. Not all the stairs, just some of the stairs. You have two options when something like this happens to you. You can pay somebody to repair it. This repair would cost well over $1,000. Or you can do it on your own. With materials, I'm going to get this repair down to about $35 with my zero or cheap labor. Many of my home repair videos are some of my most popular on the channel. It's a repair, it's not a replace. To replace, it's going to take a lot more time. This repair hopefully will let me get another 5, maybe 10 years before I have to replace this decking. So let's get started. This decking is pretty solid, but we've got water damage in quite a few of these structural stair pieces. This goes all the way, see that? Look, it's a mess. This is pretty solid. This is at a slant, so that's going to have to be repaired. This is going to require cutting this out and then scarfing in a piece of pressure treated 2x4 in order to make this good again. Here we got a different situation. The wood's pretty solid, but the holes in the hardware have deteriorated. So I'm going to drill this out and put in some 1/4-inch dowel, glue it in place so that this is solid. Using a 3/8-inch drill bit, I drilled some holes, but over here, that broke off, this broke off here, this broke off here. I've got a hole there, but I'm just going to end up scarfing off this, scarfing off that. Here's the fix in action. I've got the dowels, got the last dowel going in, wood glue in there, and sawed off with this flush cut saw. We'll let that dry and see how it does. Using a combination of this pole saw and this oscillating tool, I've been able to cut out all of these areas and trim out the bad stuff. This is really loud, and this is ninja quiet. And so you can just come in here and... Which is faster? They're about the same. This gets in areas like this that are up against another piece of wood. So that's helpful. The neighbors prefer this one over this one. If you're doing the oscillating tool, down, it's pretty darn loud compared to this. I finished all the cuts and I've made custom 2x4s, pressure treated on all these locations. And I've got solid structure here. I used wood filler in these areas here where I used dowel and just put some wood filler every place I thought it would help. And that's been in for a couple hours now while I was cutting all this stuff up. In order to secure all these pieces, I'm going to use a combination of lag screws when it's up against the solid structure, and I'm going to try these mending plates and see how they work out. They have these spikes on them. If I have to, once I have these in place, I'll use some of these deck screws to reinforce on either side of the structure, here and possibly down there. I'll post all of these materials down below in case you're interested. The great thing about these lag screws is they have that nice flat top, got a nice aggressive turn on it, and they go in pretty quickly. And they come with a bit that hopefully is going to run all of these as I need them. You can spend a lot of money on lag screws at Home Depot or whatever. Get them online, they're a lot cheaper. Knowing that I'm going to put some screws through the decking into this piece, I want to make sure that the lag screws are far enough away that it's not going to be a factor. And hopefully this won't split the wood. And on the first one that I drilled, it started splitting. So I'm going to pre-drill some holes before I put these in. Pre-drilling the holes really worked out well. Mending plates, I tell you what, these things are magical. I wish I would have used these years ago. On one side, up and down. The other side, running this way. And that thing is nice and tight. On this one, I've got this barrier and it's all sorts of things. I'm going to put a bigger mending plate on and just use this one side. But the mending plates, oh my gosh. Great, great thing. I had problems hammering in place this way, and I tried to use a C-clamp, and you can do that. You have a bigger one and just clamp it down that way. That works. Slice it down. The easiest way I found to do this, even if you have two, is you pound in the 2x4 that you're replacing the structure with on the ground. Now if you had two of them, you just do one side, and then slide it into place. And then pound it in on the structure. When you have an old deck, it's going to have old hardware. I don't know why they use square hardware. Everything has gone to stars, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because these are horrible. You can't get them out. You're in that situation, get yourself a center punch, just put it on top of the hardware and tap it out that way. It comes right out. I want to use this hole anyway for the new hardware, and that will give me an opportunity to drill into the new wood. So I've learned a lot on this project. I'm going to put the stairs back in place and drill tap holes or starter holes for the steps. These are 3-inch long star tops, and the drill doesn't go all the way in. Once I make the original holes using the stair as a template, I'll take the stair off and drill this further down. And then just do that for all of these. That dowel replacement technique was right on the money. It went right into the dowel, so there'll be a nice solid contact there to build this up a little bit. But the strength is going to be in these dowels. Now it's time to slide in this front face board. If you need to, you can take a mallet, put it down. Now it's a little wobbly, so I've got some finishing nails. I'm going to use a drill bit to pre-drill these holes and then just tap them in place with the hammer. These are 1-inch white finishing nails. Now I'll just slide on the stair, knock it in place, and install the deck screws. You want the screws nice and flush. If for some reason it's popped up a little bit, you can raise that up, push that down again, and then hit it. Or before you put the screw in, if it's popped up because you knocked out the old hardware, just hit it with a hammer and the composite deck will flatten out. Almost done here. This is in place, this is in place. It's rock solid. Just repeat the same steps I showed here, down here. I didn't like how little grip this 1-inch finishing nail had, so I upgraded to this 1 5/8 inch finishing nail, because that will go in there nice and solid and keep this front board in place. It is composite, so I'm just pre-drilling the holes a little bit and then allowing the finishing nail to go in. You can use a nail punch and finish it off, or you can use a piece of wood as a backer and then hammer it in that way. Both techniques work. This nail punch is probably a little better, but it might leave a divot. This was the right move, getting these 1 5/8 inch nails. This front board is a lot stronger, and it also ties in the supports. Last thing to do is put the final stair panel in place. This stuff is heavy duty. They don't make it like this anymore. This is 20 years old, and it's still in pretty darn good shape. Look how thick that is. There's no cuts in the back, just completely solid. And lock it down with these 3-inch deck screws, star configuration. On the outside, or for anyone coming to your house, and maybe even your family, they won't see any difference. But being a homeowner, when things break, I just feel compelled to fix them. And once I do and succeed, every time I walk on these stairs, it will put a little smile on my face, because I know I fixed something that if somebody else did it, it would have cost me $1,000 or more dollars. And you get to learn the bones of your house. You get to see how sometimes the construction is shoddy and sometimes it's pretty impressive. And you can learn every step of the way. Thumbs up and comments always appreciated. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in all sorts of home repairs, designs of all kinds, making and breaking things, I even do costumes, cosplay, and props. Check out my channel and please subscribe, because you never know what home repair you might see.